Not necessarily new, just got a haircut, so, you know, haircut, meaning one hair, you know, not plural. It's not a hair's cut, it's a haircut. Anyway, we'll get started here in a minute. Well, not a minute, maybe 4 or 5, 6 minutes, something like that. Wait for like 2 minutes after the hour. And let some people roll in here before we start moving forward. Thanks, Henry. Haircut's not part of the big news. Well, not part of big news. I don't know if I mentioned big news today, but definitely some news, that's for sure. There's always big news. But yeah, it has nothing to do with the haircut, that's for sure. Hey, Crispy, how are you? Yeah, I'm gonna be eating French fries here, guys. So we're waiting for these things for an hour and a half, just so everybody knows. And they're cold and taste like shit. So, you know, fucking awesome. What, this thing? Oh, no, that's actually, I think it's a TV mount. I don't know. Just really have nowhere else to put it, so I stuck it right there. Yeah. Not the healthiest. Well, there are some sweet potato fries, so, you know, not the most unhealthiest of fried root vegetables. Sorry. I'm waiting for these things for an hour. I mean, they taste horrible, so, but now I feel committed. Yeah, I enjoy some sweet potato fries, though. To be honest, I got to tell you, regular old French fries that are created, you know, the right way. It's kind of hard to beat those. All right, guys. So It's 3 o'clock on the dot. I'm going to give another 2 minutes. Then you can watch me eat French fries, and then we'll start. Fries with mayo. Well, we know where you're from. Now, you can pretty much tell where someone's from based on what they put on the French fries, right? Ketchup, mayonnaise. I've seen people put, I saw a guy with chocolate sauce on French fries one time. I don't remember where he was from. Insane asylum, I imagine. Hey, Ricky, how are you? You could always mix mayo and ketchup. That's like the Burger King Whopper secret sauce. Secret's out, guys. Everybody knows. Ricky's asking if he can be an account manager and saying he's great. I'm glad you're great, Ricky. It's awesome being great, isn't it? I'm also great. So, it's just every day I wake up, it's like, being great is so fucking cool, right? Look, anybody can actually apply to be an account manager. If you're great, then people will use your service and all will be good. If you're not, then people won't. So very democratic. So yeah, sure you can. As long as you're KYC and fully onboarded. So if you're like sanctioned for, multiple counts of bank fraud and you're on the PEP list because your dad is the king of Saudi Arabia, then, it might be an issue. A friend of yours is my humble Telegram group. Okay, I don't really get what you're saying there, but right on. Okay, let's get started, guys. I'm going to stop eating these fries. Thanks, Jeff Fuel. Okay. So if you've never joined us, you just watched me eat French fries for 2 minutes. Congratulations. My name is Kevin Murcko, CEO here at CoinMetro. And we do this little This Week in Crypto every week on Friday, where I basically have a bit of an agenda we follow. I go over 10 news stories that were curated on Telegram by our Telegram elites over the past week, give a little comment, usually try to shave it down to a minute or more or less each. Then we do Kevin Explains Crypto. It's just a phrase, a word, something from the crypto verse. And I try to basically tell you what it is in layman terms so that it's a little bit more understandable. And then we go into the Ask Me Anything here on YouTube. And there's some Reddit questions probably from last week as well. So if time permitting, I also answer the questions that came in on Reddit. So here we go. Let's get started. If I can just bring up my little cheat sheet here. Okay, so here we go. So market news, number 1 on a list of 10, IRS sends 10,000 letters of warning to crypto holders. Yeah, the IRS is phishing, guys. The IRS is not up to date yet on who owns what, where. But if they saw you maybe did a few Coinbase transactions or they got some information from some other regulated exchange in the US that holds a bit license because they're required to actually file these type of reports, then they're going to fish. And if you did 5 transactions, well, maybe you did 50, maybe you did 100, maybe you only used Coinbase for 2 of those transactions and the rest you did on Binance, so they're fishing. I would say that for the most part, this is going to be almost like a voluntary submission of data. So it's not about so much that they know people have not paid tax on these things or not reported them. They're just fishing. They want to see if maybe somebody didn't, come through with the goods, so to speak. So if you got one of those letters, they're fishing, bro. So do what you think is best. Obviously, it's always the best thing to report all your income, pay your taxes. One of the worst things about you being a U.S. citizen is taxes. So the U.S. still got to report those, still have to pay that tax. So thank you, U.S. government. Thank you, Blue Passport. Moving on. Number 2 on a list of 10 reveals new soft staking option. All right. So actually, I have no idea what this is. So I'm actually going to have to look at this article, unfortunately. Let's see. How does it work? Okay. Yeah. I saw this thing. Okay, so this is definitely a regulated product, 100%, because it's basically an option. So it's kind of like an option mixed with staking. KuCoin obviously doesn't care because their own token pays dividends or revenue share or something like that. So they're just breaking rules all over the place. So let's just break another one, right? I mean, why not? You already broke 5 rules, might as well break 6, right? You're already going to get, you already have sufficient risk above your head. You might as well just pile it on. So I would say it's kind of a cool concept. Unfortunately, though, it's definitely going to be considered to be a regulated product. So KuCoin isn't the biggest exchange out there. That's why they don't have heat on them like BitMEX or Bitfinex or probably soon to be Binance. They don't have the heat yet. If they had some heat, though, this would definitely be under the radar. Number 3 on a list of 10, millions in crypto is crossing the Russian-China border daily. Their Tether is king. Yeah. So obviously, I think most people have known for a while that Tether probably has some specific use case for either evading taxes or laundering money. Well, this is definitely part of it. So basically, when you have imports and exports, you're dealing with, cross currencies, you're dealing with exchange rates, you're dealing with banks, letters of credit, all this nonsense, right? All of it costs money and all of it's visible to the government. And it's very difficult then to try and say that you imported less than you did and pay less tax. Well, income Tether, right? So they're using Tether in quite large sums to basically pay for goods across borders. That is relatively undetected unless those goods are actually seized or specifically checked, which, I've driven across borders many times in my life, whether it be in North America, South America, Europe. I could tell you the amount of cars that actually get checked on a border, or even the amounts of tanker trucks that get checked is quite minimal. So the use case, they're actually showing a use case, which is great for all those people like our friend Dr. Doom, who says there's no use case. The problem is the use case is kind of illegal. Hopefully it doesn't make too much waves in the news. Obviously they could use Bitcoin for the same illegal use case, but it's too volatile. This way they at least get the money that they're expecting for their goods based on a USD to their own home exchange rate, which still could be volatile, by the way. The USD ruble fell 35-40% last year, or the year before, sorry. The yuan, well, the yuan is basically pegged to the US dollar, doesn't move all that much. So open letter from Ripple, number 4 on the list of 10. Open letter from Ripple asks US government for fair crypto regulation. Okay. I think we already have, I've said this a million times, we have all the regulation we need, guys. The US doesn't need to create new regulation. No one does. There are caveats where there has to be some explanation, maybe some amendments so that certain products can be specifically tied to existing regulation, but we have enough regulation. Trust me, we have ample amounts of regulation. We have regulation on pretty much absolutely everything when it comes to any type of financial product you could possibly imagine. So we don't need new regulation. What we need is them to apply existing regulation and people to start crying about it and go get the damn licenses they need to operate. That's it. I think that all these letters are great, but at the end of the day, no real comprehensive new regulation will be created. So asking for fair crypto regulation is, asking someone to give you a blue banana. Good luck waiting for that one. We already have yellow ones, so you don't need blue ones, right? So forget it. Number 5 on the list of 10, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission is looking for contractors that would run Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP nodes on its behalf. The regulator said the nodes will support its efforts to monitor risks and improve compliance, and basically basically help them monitor all your transactions, so they don't have to send out letters in the future to ask you to pay your taxes. They will know you absolutely owe them taxes. So that's the IRS, Nancy. Sorry. Anyway, they would probably communicate in the end anyway, but they will know all the transactions you make. They know that STOs are probably coming. They know that more regulated assets are going to go on the blockchain. Thus, the SEC simply wants to understand what's happening before it's reported. Something that they kind of have access to now, because obviously if a CEO of a company that has a securities account goes ahead and sells 50% of his stock, he has to publicly declare that. And the SEC pretty much knows it already happened because, well, it's his securities account that sold the stock. So they want the same, and they have that same, they have to have easier access on the blockchain. They need to understand it. So they just want to ease you out better. That's it. Number 6 on the list of 10, Malta proposes a regulatory framework for security token offerings. And just like every other Malta framework, this one is subpar and doesn't really do anything that that the existing law doesn't do, right? Malta is in the EU. EU has directives under MiFID II, under EMIR, under CSDR, that talk about how you can sell small securities, small offerings, prospectus law under 8 million, under 2 million, over 8 million. All these things are already there, guys. There's absolutely no reason to recreate it. And they don't mention actually CSD inside of this new prospective law. I breezed through it quickly. Maybe I missed it. But under CSDR, that's Central Security Depository Regulation in Europe, you need to register any tradable security with a CSD. And it needs to be settled there. And they don't even mention it. So again, Malta, thumbs down, guys. Try again. It's nice that they're trying to do something. But you know what would be better is if all the heads of all the different finance ministers and regulators got into Brussels and started to push the ECB to actually do something, apply existing regulation. Because doing all this shit locally is great, but at the end of the day, it's local. You can't passport it, you can't do anything. That means you go to Malta, you can only sell in Malta. And since there's no such thing as, obviously you can't do, let's say direct marketing in almost any country unless you're licensed. But you can't even do things that aren't direct in Europe. It is illegal. So you're stuck in Malta. So, who cares? How big is the Malta market again? Oh, yeah, really small. Number 7 on a list of 10, U.S. lawmakers are realizing they can't ban Bitcoin. That's true. They can't ban a protocol. Just can't really ban the internet, right? But you can screw with it really bad. So they're getting smarter, I guess. But let's hope they don't get too smart, because if they truly wanted to ban Bitcoin and they simply just started to really push on every regulated institution that they could not do any business with cryptocurrency, whether it be through an exchange or whether it be direct, then guess what happens? They shut off the funnel, and they shut off the funnel, and the protocol doesn't die. Blockchain doesn't die, but crypto as a payment gateway, as a however you want to define it, now it doesn't die, but it's crippled. That's for sure. So let's hope they don't continue down that path. But yeah, banning crypto, kind of difficult, but smothering it, not so difficult. Oracle, number 8 on the list of 10, Oracle building a virtuous cycle of innovation with startups through Chainlink and blockchain. Okay, I didn't read this one, don't really want to, but look, Oracle's been in the database business and the enterprise services business for going on 40 years, I think. I know that Chainlink got a lot of news about that. They got a lot of news about other things when they did some partnerships or whatever. I don't necessarily think that the blockchains that are being used for these specific services will be the blockchains that are used for these specific services in the future. But Oracle's a database business, man. If they don't start using the newest type of database, blockchain, and they don't fully understand it, and they don't become a powerhouse in terms of offering that enterprise solution out to their clients, they lose, and the business, the empire that they built, dies. So, it only makes sense that they're rapidly looking and spending a lot of cash on development and research to find out how they can create solutions for enterprise database solutions on the blockchain. It just makes sense. Number 9, list 10, Switzerland's first integrated crypto asset exchange launched. Yeah, smart Valor. Yay! So I say this not because they may be somewhat of a competitor. I say this because this is just the truth. I talked to a guy actually when I was in London, and he was doing something similar to Smart Valor. He was all hyped up about Switzerland. We're ahead of everybody else, and blah blah blah. Switzerland's great, guys. Switzerland actually was really awesome like 30, 40 years ago when you could have numbered accounts and hide your money there, and it was freaking great. And then one day the Patriot Act came around and dead. Switzerland has always been a very progressive country. They're obviously neutral. They've basically been decentralizing things for years before blockchain emerged, right? The thing is, though, that a play in Switzerland is a play in Switzerland. There's no reverse solicitation in Switzerland either. So you can bring on other people from other countries, but there's a process. You still need to have applicable regulation when you talk about bringing on people from Europe, for example, CSD again. Switzerland's it's a cool place. People think it's cool. They know maybe they know the history, maybe they know the background. But the play in Switzerland is really for the Swiss. And yes, money flows into Switzerland. Okay. Does it give you access to retail pools of liquidity around the world that have yet to be unlocked? No. What is the real reason to actually tokenize a security? What is the real reason? It's cross-border, instantaneous transfer of ownership. which you need a CSD for in many parts of the world. And outside of that, it's the tap pools of liquidity you've never been able to tap before. If you're a guy that's in Switzerland that knows about Switzerland, can move his money through Switzerland, you probably have some assets. That means you're probably already able to access private placements and other mechanisms that are basically the same as what are these STOs they're creating. So again, not really newsworthy, guys. It's a small step, maybe even backwards, but it's regionally focused. And regionally focused is what we've already been doing in finance for the last 30, 40 years. It doesn't work. It works for those that are at the top. It does not work for those that are at the bottom, like most everything else in finance. And that needs to change. And this is going to help it change. Number 10 on the list of 10, Kraken boosts institutional offerings with acquisition of Dan Held's Interchange. All right, hold on. I got to look at this one too, because maybe I should know what this is, but I don't. Formerly director, okay. Providing blockchain co-founder, an accounting reconciliation reporting service. Okay. All right. Well, makes sense. Look, I get this is a long-term play for them, I imagine, basically because just like in Europe, we have EMIR, which is a reporting standard for regulated institutions. There's similar laws in the US. And I think they're starting to see, like I've been saying, that the CFTC will probably start moving in and start classifying these as assets under their guise, at least most of these crypto assets, and the SEC will come in on the other side of the regulated assets. And it's going to mean much higher reporting standards will be required. And building those mechanisms from scratch, especially when you talk about building them for an asset like crypto, which initially the record keeping probably wasn't all that great, is going to be quite difficult. So just buying somebody that already does it and integrate a little bit easier. All right, guys, so that concludes the news. I'll do Kevin Explains Crypto real quick, and then we'll jump into this AMA. So this week's Kevin Explains Crypto word of the day is arbitrage, one of my favorite words. All right, so this isn't necessarily a crypto term, though it's more of a financial term. In fact, one of the first things that I did online before I even got involved in FX was sports betting arbitrage, way back in the day. So what arbitrage is basically when it comes to financial assets, you're basically buying and selling the same asset through different gateways or via different types of products to take advantage of price differences. Simple as that. So basically, what does that mean in like real world terms? Well, let's say in crypto, you have an exchange in Europe selling Bitcoin at 10,000 euros. And then you have an exchange, let's say in China, that's selling Bitcoin at equivalent to 15,000 euros. Well, you go in Europe, you buy a Bitcoin, you move it over, you sell it in China, you bought it for 11, you sold it for 15. Imagine you could automate this and do it, all a million times a second. Obviously, you need to have a lot of liquidity to be able to do that because there's no such thing as credit for the most part on crypto exchanges, but you get the idea. So there are different types of arbitrage, by the way. There's triangular arbitrage, triangular arbitrage is basically where you take pairings of assets, normally in the FX business. So you would take like Euro USD, let's say Euro GBP, and USD GBP. And you would triangular arbitrage between those three pairs as they fluctuate. As one moves faster than the other, you would be buying and selling the other assets to try to make money on that price differential between the three. You then have latency arbitrage, where on the same platform, you are basically looking for ways to beat the platform. So you'll have a fast account and a slow account. You go to a fast broker that has a very fast data feed and a slow broker with a very slow data feed. And you basically buy and sell, and inside the time of that time difference, you get a price difference. Anyway, there's also there's different types of arbitrage. Let's just put it that way. So that's what arbitrage is. It's very difficult in mature markets because mature markets tend to price out arbitrage opportunities. In immature markets, though, a blind mouse with one, do they call them paws? What do you call with a paw? What do you call a rat? Finger? I don't know what the hell you call it. Anyway, their hands. I don't know, whatever. A blind rat with like one arm could probably knock out an arbitrage opportunity on Bitcoin right now. That's why, when I talk to most people and they say, I'm a Bitcoin trader. And I go, yeah, what do you do? Arbitrage? And they're like, yeah, great. Means you're not a genius. All right, so moving on. So let's get into the live Q&A. There are some questions on Reddit, so I'll try to get to those as well, but I'm going to jump to the live AMA first. Okay, so Henry was just saying, I guess when I talk about Binance in the terms of IRS, he says being banned in the USA. Well, they should have never been selling into the USA. That's one. It's not so much banned. They, quote unquote, voluntarily stopped taking US clients. I guarantee you they still have some, though. But they stopped taking them, and they said they were going to partner up with, well, they didn't say they were going to partner up. Basically, they were going to partner up with another company and open an exchange in the US. But Binance has been operational in the US for quite some time, meaning at least for last year's taxes, and probably when you file, some people file this year's taxes, they will have some Binance exposure. Doppelmonk, Kevin, put your money where your mouth is and create that marketing budget and start marketing this project. Or do you think we don't deserve some gains after we gave you 10 million to fund your dream? Yeah, this is, I think this guy was here last week under a different name, but I'll answer the same thing I answered last week because it's the truth. Create that marketing budget. Okay, where should I create that out of? Maybe I should squeeze the concrete pillar behind me and see if some euros pop out of it, and then we can throw that into marketing, right? Obviously, we want to do what do you think? Do you honestly think? So this is your scenario, right? I'm going to break down your scenario on how it looks from that message. So we raised money to build a company. Thank you to all those contributors. Appreciate it. By the way, about $500,000 of that was mine. So thank you to me as well. And we put that money into this company, and we spent it all with and now we don't want to market because we want to screw all the contributors, which I am one of, and we're just going to sit here and burn money forever because that makes more sense to shareholders, right? So we obviously want to build a marketing budget. We want to market more than any of you, even more than you. I guarantee it. But we need money to build the marketing budget, and we're fundraising. And you need products to market to bring in revenue. So over the last maybe year or so, we've been focused on building products. Now we have a few more in the pipeline, and now we're ready to pivot into more of sales marketing, 100%. But we need the budget, and I can't create it out of thin air. If I could, then I would just snap my fingers and we'd have a budget. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. I tried, like literally every night, I'm snapping all over the place. I've snapped in different countries, and unfortunately, it doesn't start raining money. If you know how to do that, please get on a plane. I'll pay your plane ticket, come to town, start snapping your fingers, and I'll just bring out buckets and we'll collect the money and then we'll throw it into marketing. I'll even let you run the marketing. How's that? You can even run the marketing on that rain down money, right? We'll call you Mr. Rain Man. You'll come around the office. You know, you'll have a cool nickname. It'll be awesome. Bjorn, how is margin posting going to work from a tax perspective? Just regular capital gains tax. Essentially, yeah, you are basically, you're posting collateral, someone's using your collateral and they're paying you a fee. So actually, to be quite honest, depending on how it's perceived, it could be perceived as income because it's kind of like a service agreement. You're putting up the collateral, someone is taking the collateral, they're paying you a fee to use your collateral. So in essence, that's more of a service fee. That might be seen in many countries as payroll tax, like payment, like you would on any income tax. However, depending on how you explain that, it could also possibly be perceived as capital gains. But I think, to be honest, it's probably more like employment tax. Obviously, I'm not a tax professional, so I would consult a local tax professional where you live. But I think it's probably more like tax on actual income. I can't pronounce his name, but I'll try. Tiozino, TF2. How do you plan to capitalize on Binance stopping to serve U.S. citizens? Marketing. As soon as the money starts to rain down from Doppelmonk snapping his fingers, then we'll throw that behind the marketing and tell everybody they should come trade with us. But seriously, yeah, obviously marketing. Now, everybody else is thinking the same thing, right? We're not geniuses here thinking we're going to steal Binance's thunder in the U.S. Like we're the only guys thinking that. And there's already big exchanges in the U.S., right? The U.S. is a big market, guys, but in terms of crypto right now, it's nowhere near the biggest. So focusing on the U.S., obviously, we'll take some U.S. traders as long as they're not in a few states where we can't take on any business, right? But yeah, look, once marketing comes, obviously it's one thing we'll focus on with marketing for sure. Sorry, it's 10 million euro and you lost half, and I know how you did it. No need to tell that sad story again. Thanks, Doppelmonk. Look, you're the smartest guy in the room, obviously, so maybe you should come here and do these AMAs and I'll just sit back and watch and take notes. I think that would be awesome, actually, because, you know, sometimes on Fridays, I'm tired, man. I'm tired from obviously, like, you know, doing nothing because we don't do anything here but spend everybody's money and burn it into a hole, right? So I'm kind of tired of doing that. So if you could swing by, I'll get your own wish jar. You know, I'll take my wish jar with me. We'll get you your own. We'll throw some wishes in there for you. And then you come here every Friday and just knock it out, bro. Knock it out of the park. Give us all those awesome ideas. Tell us how you would have done something in the past. Armchair quarterback the shit out of that. And then, we'll all just think you're the best guy in town. I think it'd be quite cool, actually. I'll take pictures and we'll take some video, have a beer afterward or something. Awesome. Somebody asking where the FUD regulator is. He's around. He's omnipotent. He's here even when he's not. Violet Moose. Does CoinMetro still hold funds from the ICO and ETH, or have those been used already? No, we do not. We converted everything into euro. The average euro conversion wasn't at, I think we did convert some at like around 150 euro or something like that. But I think the average was probably somewhere around 300 when you really total up all the buys that we did, all the sells, that we did. So obviously, if we held it till right now, wouldn't really made a difference. To be honest, it's still sitting around. It's probably lower than the average sale price actually that we had throughout the time that we sold Ether. Yeah, Jet Fuel, it is. It's actually, I got this for my birthday. This one fell. So everybody knows the famous meme wall. This is the meme champagne bottle. So actually, this one right here, that's not a meme. That's me. That's when I go to the gym. It's the oil that makes me look more muscly, because it's you don't see it right now. It's because I'm not oiled up. So. But yeah, that's the Kevin meme champagne bottle. So. We're going to trademark that at some point and sell them in Walmart once they tokenize themselves. And you'll be able to use the Walmart token to buy the CoinMetro champagne bottles. So be on the lookout for that one. Yep, Doppelmonk still coming in. What funds? They spent it all. The guy asked a question about budgeting and then says we spent all the money. So I don't know how you make a budget with no money. Again, Doppel, seriously, you got to come over here and speak some knowledge, bro, because you're obviously, you got the biggest brain in the room. At Jet Fuel. Well, Doppel. Actually, no. Doppel's talking about the wish jar. This is actually the meme champagne bottle. Two different things. Not really correlated. Where there are big tickets coming, how much? I can't read your name because it's in Chinese characters or maybe Jap. I don't know. I'm not. Since some kind of characters, I don't want to offend anybody. Even though I probably do that on every show, unfortunately. So we're big tickets. So I talked about this last week. We have interest out of Latin America. We have interest out of the UK. Those tickets range from 6 to 7 figures. Even the one out of Latin America starts at 6. Phase 2 would be 7 figures, basically the entire sum that we're looking to raise. But the initial phase, let's say, is in the 6-figure range, mid 6 figures. Sebastian, don't know how many people are doing marketing, but maybe CM can provide some content so that community can post on social. I think we do already, actually. But yeah, look, we've actually been interviewing now for different marketing positions to beef back up the marketing team. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll make a decision, and then someone will come in. Some more people will come into the role. By then, I expect to have one of these tickets closed, so we'll have some money for Doppelmark's famous, Snap and Rain marketing budget, and we'll start to pivot more from just content marketing to actually sales. Now that we have platforms to sell. Yeah, CR. Maybe it is CR. I don't know. That's a good one. Krispy Kreme could be. You said you'd have funding news this week. Yeah, well, the news is that it's progressing nicely, and I'm going to meet, I believe, with our Latin American investors towards the 10th or 11th of this month, either in Russia or in Spain, because they're traveling through both of those countries. So that's the news so far in terms of funding. But yeah, basically we're 90% of the way there. There's a few kinks to roll out, but we're pretty close. What's new on BizDev from Jet Fuel? Any knows on those fiat currencies? So from the fiat currency side, I mentioned, so there was 33 that got sent down to maybe 25 or 26 after we narrowed down some of the currencies that we weren't going to be able to use because of local laws or whatever around crypto, or just local regulations. Still, all the majors are there except for USD, at least at the beginning. And most of the secondary currencies in the world are there as well. we have the IBANs. We could do it today. It's just that the pricing right now is not that great. It's 0.5% in, 0.1% out. In about a month to 45 days to maybe 60 days at the max, we'll be able to lower that down to a fixed fee. And the fixed fee will be much lower for most of those transactions. So right now, in my mind, I'm thinking to wait rather than launching it now. When it comes to biz dev, lots of things in the works, to be honest. One of the tasks we have right now is to put together all the biz dev opportunities we have that we're either working on or plan to work on, and then start to delegate those, at least the major ones, to the new staff that comes in from marketing. So I've started to put those things together. So generally, all the different business development stuff I've mentioned in the past is all still either ongoing or in some, maybe it's been held back for whatever reason. Maybe it's ongoing, maybe it's getting closer, maybe it's almost done. But we're working on many things at the same time. And we will delegate the major ones, the ones that can actually produce revenue in the short term, to the new marketing team it's not a new team, but the new people that come on board, we will delegate, and then the marketing team will start to work on getting those things out into the public, while our dev team and our management team works to get the deals finalized. Can CM increase its YouTube view? I guess we can, yeah. How do we do that? Probably marketing. But look, it's increasing over time organically, and once we do pivot to this full-on kind of a more aggressive sales marketing, it's definitely going to increase. CR came in to say it's not him, so either he's real quick to cheat. You can always change between accounts. CR, that doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't you. I don't think it was him though. As the same, this guy last week asking the same questions, so I think it's the same guy. Why is CoinMetro not allowed in states like New York and Hawaii? Local regulation. New York for the BIT license, we don't have one. Hawaii, because they have specific rules around crypto, and you need to have an MSB license simply even to onboard clients, I believe. Don't quote me on that one, but I think that's why. It's definitely regulatory related. Saul asking, what about LHV? Any news? Yeah, LHV. A little bit of news there. So 3 tokens have been approved as of last Friday. You may have seen them on the demo platform already. That is BAT, ELF, and Engine. So those 3 will be coming live at some time in the near future. We will have some type of deposit time like we did with Link and the other guys for a few days, and then we'll launch the token. So those have been approved. As far as the self-assessment guide, we are actively trying to help them get that done. We've just submitted 4 new tokens as well. As of today, they've been submitted, or they will be submitted. And so we're continuing down the road as we were before, though now instead of 3, we submitted 4. And we're helping them try to get this self-assessment thing aligned with their compliance department. XCM data on CoinMarketCap. Well, they actually have it up there now, but I think they have the exchange up there as well, but they're pulling our demo data because the guys didn't read our specs correctly and added open to the end of some of the API calls, which gets the data from the open platform or the demo platform. So they need to amend that. But XCM is up. I don't know why they haven't pulled all the data. We've followed everything they wanted us to do in terms of vaulting all the different tokens and putting names behind the vaults in terms of what they were for, whether they were vested, whether they were shareholders, whatever they were. We've done that. I think they simply just haven't gotten around to it, guys. But they have all the data. We're just waiting for them to move forward. IEO news. Yep, there will be a bit of IEO news in the coming days. Just to let you guys know who the IEO, the IEO type launch will be, what project it will be, what company. And then yes, around the 15th is when the full brunt of news will hit with a press release that discusses more of exactly how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, whitelisting, things like that. Bjorn, why wait for lower fees? Delay Metro. I think it's soon Metro, actually. But lower fees, well, one, I think there'll be backlash. Like, hey, you guys can deposit in whatever currency. It's 0.5% to make a deposit. And they go, well, I can deposit at, whatever other nonsense. I deposit at whatever X for only this much. And I just don't really feel like going down that road, to be quite honest. So I'd rather, now, if it takes longer than what we're suspecting, around 45 days, then that may change. We're already on the development side going through the process to get these things into the system. So we're ready to roll. Anybody noticing this? We're ready to roll, but at the same time, we need to make sure, again, that the thing's going to be well received. So either way, it's going to take a few weeks for us to go through this process of getting everything done in terms of development, and it's started, though it's not the main thing we're focused on. Once it's done, we'll reevaluate, and if it looks like we should launch, we'll launch it. It's just going to be not that cheap, at least at first. We'll see them apply for bit license. At some point, we more than likely will, though I do think there's going to be national regulation at some point, either from the CFTC or and probably CFTC and the SEC, depending on the type of assets. And I think that's going to override the bit license, to be quite honest, because it's a state. Because it's just a statewide license, right? Not passportable anywhere. But yeah, it's in the plans. It's in the plans. Thanks, CR. Yeah, I'm glad you're happy about Engine. It's a cool project. We're glad we got it accepted. So yeah, it's coming soon. When will we start to make a profit? I love all these questions, right? Because it's like purely speculative. We don't need, in terms of right now, in terms of the revenue we see, it's probably, top of my head, about 5%, more than less, of what our burn rate is. So it's a small percentage, though a couple months ago it wasn't even close to 1%. So we're increasing the amount of revenue we see quite substantially in terms of, let's say, a multiplier. When you talk about margin trading, in terms of just commission from the exchange, we would have to see somewhere between 3 and 6 million of exchange traded volume on a daily basis in order to cover our expenses. But when you bring on margin trading with roughly 4 million in open exposure on margin as a daily average over 30 days, that alone would cover our burn rate. So I think towards the end of the year, we will be somewhere between 20 and 40% of our burn rate, conservatively speaking, I think. And then as we move into, but by then I'm not even calculating new products, right? So I think TAM and TAM will definitely add, and margin posting, I think, are both going to add significant jumps in terms of revenue. But even not adding those in, I'd say 20 to 40% into Q1 next year. I think if we put up a fight, especially as we start to pivot the marketing and we get a bit of a marketing budget, I think we'll go into slight profitability maybe by the end of Q1 into Q2 next year. Jet fuel, TAM margin posting, new website news. No real new news. We're still on track. It was 3 to 5 weeks last week. Now it's what, 2 to 4? 2 to 4 basically for margin posting. I think TAM will be margin posting will be at the beginning of that, more towards the beginning. TAM would be more towards the end. New website probably by the middle of the month. Though we'll probably put up a new website, and then it'll take a few weeks basically to add in additions, get customer feedback, make some changes, etc. So to get the true new website, maybe it takes a bit longer, but we should see a new website up, I think, by the middle of the month. Will you have any market makers on these new tokens? Just talk to a market maker that I think is sufficient. They are willing to market, so they'll be ready to write to our platform at the end of the month. And by September 15th, they'll be ready to actually do some market making. And we already talked about Link. We talked about ONG. We talked about the assets we already have. We haven't yet mentioned Engine and these new guys, BAT. But considering that these are tradable on multiple other platforms, they should be able to market make them. But it won't. We wouldn't expect to see that happen until around mid-September, according to their own timeline. Website appraisal, asking how you can explain how margin posting will be used. Sure, it's a rather simple concept. So you have some money with us, whether it's in the form of Bitcoin, Litecoin, Euro, whatever. You have capital assets with us, and they're just sitting there. They're not doing anything. So in a bank, you would put those assets into an interest-bearing account, make some interest. At least you make something, right? Here, you could take that and post it as collateral. So you post it as collateral. A trader will take that collateral and then use that collateral to trade on margin. So instead of them, if they have maybe 1 Bitcoin in their account, but they want to maybe buy another Bitcoin, or buy 2 more Bitcoin or 3 more Bitcoin, they don't have the capital to do it. They can go and take some collateral from you. So let's say you have 3 Bitcoin, it's sitting in your account. You post it for collateral. You post it. They take that collateral. They're then able to buy Bitcoin on margin. They can sit on that position, and every second that position is open, you make a fee, and that fee is based on an APR, an annual percentage rate, and based on the asset that's being traded. So right now, all assets are priced at about 0.08% a day, which comes out to 30% annually, 2.5% a month. Obviously, when you compound it, it's going to be more, but talk about uncompounded return, it's 30% a year that you get just from posting the collateral. As far as risk goes, we have barriers in place so that people will get margined out before they touch, before they get lower than 30% of their own balance. I mean, if you have one Bitcoin and you're in a losing position and your available equity falls to 0.3 Bitcoin, we will close out those positions. And if the balance were to go negative, the risk of that falls onto CoinMetro, not onto the person giving the collateral, posting the collateral, or the trader. So it's you never want to say risk-free investments or risk-free gain, because even when there's insurance involved, what if the insurance provider went under? What if? But it's a great way to make money on assets that are simply sitting there doing nothing. Kevin, please print me some money. I'll get on that right away. I might have to print us some first, but we'll see. Also, the API would be great to have, if only to use it on tax tracking sites. API in terms of trading, well, if it's terms of trading, that API will come out in right after that time frame I just mentioned for the other products. If you're talking about an API that can pull data from your account, I think we pretty much already have that. I don't know if we knock it down to specific accounts though. But anyway, clarify what you mean, and then I can answer that one. Sebastian's saying there's almost no volume on altcoins. Any ideas to create a market for them? Well, one is to bring on market makers. So like I said, we talked to one. By September 15th, they will come on board. And the other is, well, like everything else, it's marketing, right? Now we have ambassadors. Ambassadors can obviously go out there and say, oh, you can trade euro against this. You can fund your account in euro via SEPA Instant in 30 seconds after you're onboarded. Trade this asset, cash out in euro, and get that euro back to your bank account within 30 seconds. All that stuff can be done, and we as well need to start pushing some major marketing. But again, we're waiting on that budget. But we will bring on some a market maker based in Switzerland, actually, towards mid-September. I've been hearing a few institutions are interested in using TAM. Can you confirm? Yeah, confirmed. There's two off the top of my head that are both algo trading companies that want to use TAM to basically market their algos to retail traders. So yeah, definitely confirmed. And there's more than two, but at least in recent talks, two that I've been more in contact with ring a bell off the top of my head. What are the current user numbers on the exchange now? I don't really look at those on a daily basis, to be honest. It might sound counterintuitive, but it's not the first thing that I care about in the morning. Obviously, well, fundraising, I guess. But outside of that, business development and this sandbox and getting the CSD established, all that's gonna really expand on the type of products that we can offer. And I think that's super important. And the more unique products we can offer, especially products that no one else is offering, kind of does some marketing for itself. But it's growing. That's for sure. It's growing. I think we had our biggest month so far with new active traders was something like 1,300. I think that was May, and June was a little less than that. July I haven't seen yet because we just went into August. But I'll see those numbers probably in the next week to 10 days. I'll have a look, and once we'll compile them and we'll see. But we're on an upward trajectory, that's for sure. So our bell curve is definitely going north in terms of new users, in terms of volume per active user as well. Even though volumes on the exchange have fluctuated, the average trade size is growing. Can you consider increasing fiat withdrawal limits for fully verified users? 15K a day is quite small, especially if the market goes on another bull run. I'm pretty sure is that level 2, because I'm pretty sure level 3 is still 15K a day. I think it's negotiable on level 3, to be quite honest. But if you need higher limits, you email support and they'll open a ticket with compliance, and you go through a process to see if you can get higher limits. What are the different levels for TAM managers? Not sure what that means. So if you can clarify your question. I mean APIs that can link to your account to grab deposit, withdrawal, and transaction data, jet fuel. Yeah, we already have an API like that. That's if you've seen any of these websites like CoinMetro stats.cf and all these other websites, they all use an API that pulls those stats. That's why I mentioned I don't know if we've drilled down that you can pull specific account stats, though it wouldn't be hard to create that. So I'll ask development about that. API for accounting, basically. So I'll bring that up. Tag me in Telegram. I'll let you know. Any news on Montenegro? Yep, moving along with Montenegro, having discussions internally, dealing right now with opening local entities and dealing with local banks, and waiting on the CMA to send us the English versions of the final drafts so that we can make final comments, so that they can vote next or the week after to get it into law. And now starting to have meetings with, we just had a meeting in Riga with a tech provider. We're going to have another meeting with Guard Time here in Estonia, probably towards the middle of this month. At the 11th, we're going to have a meeting, I said, with the investors, 11th or 12th. So yeah, things are moving along, and they're moving along at quite a fast clip, actually. USD stablecoin. So it's, yeah, someone said, is Libra the USD stablecoin at some point? I remember reading that. No, it's not. We're in talks with them as well. When I was in Riga, we had a talk with their tech guys and our tech guys, talking a little bit about what we would like to see from a business angle and what we need to see from a tech angle. We're starting to integrate them into our sandbox and then demo platform, and then we'll go from there into production. We've sent out off data to LHV in terms of these stablecoins as well, to make sure that we can get their approval. So I think we're talking probably 4 to 6 weeks, maybe outwards of 8 weeks, but it's something that's on the horizon. On to other investments. How are the girls in Estonia? Henry Kuhn. Hey, Henry. I guess that depends on your preference, buddy. But look, everywhere in the world can have some decent looking women, unless you live there. Right? If you're from there, everybody goes, no. The real good looking girls are from whatever other country, right? Then you go to that country, and everybody that's from there goes, nah, you don't want women from this country. You want to go to, whatever other country. That's just, the grass is always greener. That's how life works. But yeah, I think there's beautiful women all around the world, and there's some here too. Small population though, so I don't know what the ratio is like. Haven't really dug into the ratio of good-looking to ugly women in Estonia, but I think it's probably fair to say it's a similar ratio around the world. Though there are countries that are an exception, where the ratio is just blown out of proportion immensely. Daniel, hi Kev, don't forget Reddit just got here. I don't know if you already done that. No, I haven't yet. Can't wait for burning of XCM. That's coming too, guys. That's coming right inside that same time frame in terms of margin and margin posting and everything else. Would CM list Libra coin? Sure, we would. Why not? Obviously, when we talk about regulations and things like that, there's hoops we'd have to jump through. But if and when it comes to reality, 2 billion users with access to it, I think it would make sense. Does CoinMetro have enough money for August? Yes. Yes, we do. So right now, I think runways through September, basically. Yeah, you asked that before. I'm going to try to say your name. This is the last comment, if anybody can see it in YouTube. Azmatabasamalik Abbas. I think I did pretty good. You asked us before, what are different levels of TAM managers? I don't know what you mean. I don't know, like some TAM managers are good, some are not so good, some suck. Or are you asking me like fee percentage wise? Are you asking me, I have no idea what the question is. So clarify the question and I can answer it. Would Libra have more value than XCM? No idea, actually. It seems to me that Libra is going to be pegged to a basket of fiat currencies, which means it would be basically a stable coin, an aggregate stable coin. So in those terms, the value it has in terms of real value, well, if XCM exceeds that price point, then the answer would be no. If you talk about value in terms of what you can do with it, Well, depends on what you can do with a Libra. So, and to be honest, I don't know what that'll be. So hard question to answer, completely speculative. But considering the fact that Facebook and the entities inside of that, let's say, or group of companies have billions of users, the use case would probably be more substantial. Might not be as interesting, but it would probably be more substantial. Correct name. I mean, investment amount TAM managers can accept. Okay. You'll be able to stipulate that. So each TAM manager will stipulate certain things about the TAM that they're running in terms of minimum investment. The fee structure we will keep unified across all TAMs. I think it's the best way to go forward. And the TAM manager receives a lion's share of those performance fees. We receive a very small percentage. But in terms of minimum investment, maximum investment, et cetera, those type of things, those will all be configured by the TAM manager. Would CM list Gram, the Telegram coin? Yeah, maybe. I mean, especially in the ETCF, we could have some, communication ETCF, and there we would have all these different tokens that are owned or operated by communication companies. So sure. And to be honest, we'll probably have an ETCF for exchange tokens, meaning tokens owned by exchanges. And BNB is going to be a hard one for me to list. I'm going to have to really bite my tongue on that one. But it's a possibility, maybe. KuCoin would be impossible because it pays dividends, and there's no way we'd be able, or revenue, or whatever it pays, no way we'd be able to get that past the fact that it's not a security. Like at manager level at Genesis Vision. Yeah, I remember Genesis. Yeah, the guys from I remember those guys. Yeah. When you create the offer, you structure the offer as you want to structure it, basically. Yeah, Reddit. I know. Don't have a lot of time here, guys. Let's see what we got on Reddit. Nick Singh, hi Kevin. Me and some friends are thinking about switching completely to CoinMetro for Bitcoin trading. My question is, what precaution do you take against a hack? And related to a hack, is the unlikely event that CoinMetro should go bankrupt, is there a deposit guarantee for the cash? Okay, so when it comes to, we use BitGo right now for storing all our Bitcoin. We use a combination of, I guess, what you would say hot, warm, and cold wallets inside of BitGo. BitGo has yet to be hacked. We have protocols internally. There's very specific people that have access to those wallets. Most is read-only. And there's only, I think, 3 people in the organization that can actually move funds. It's all multi-signature. So we take a lot of precaution. And it's all about protocols, guys. I'll repeat this a million times. Like we had a guy the other day that spoofed an email from me to our CFO saying, please send Bitcoin to this address to pay an invoice. And it was pretty much in my same vernacular. It kind of looked like my email, whatever. But we have a protocol in-house that we never send payment requests via email or any other type of open communication portal. So it wasn't actioned, obviously. So, and in the event that we go bankrupt, is a deposit guarantee for the cash? Well, in the event CoinMetro were to go quote unquote bankrupt, there would be creditors because we went bankrupt. Right now, well, we don't really have creditors. We have some small debt on the books, which is kind of things that we've decided to postpone payment for a bit of time as we move forward to kind of extend our runway. But it's not, I wouldn't consider it debt. So at the end of the day, the point would be that if we went bankrupt, bankruptcy means you have creditors. You don't have creditors, you don't go bankrupt, you just close. If you have creditors, then creditors can have first access to funds. But when those funds are in segregated accounts and they are client funds, creditors don't have access. So the answer to your question is, there's no deposit guarantee per se, but client money is client money, and client money would make its way back to clients. It would not be, in case of bankruptcy, it wouldn't be given to creditors, and no one else would have access to that. And in any type of liquidation scenario, that money would go back to clients. Could you comment on the United States Securities and Exchange Commission? This is from Biordo 94, is planning to run through contractors. We already talked about this, the nodes. And Modem might swap its ERC20 token for tokenized shares on the block. Virtually no liquidity since it was delisted from Binance. Well, on the first one, we already talked about it. They simply want to operate nodes. They do it through contractors. So they don't have to, because they don't want to do it themselves. Whether that be for risk mitigation, whether it simply be they don't want to spend the money to do the development inside themselves. They don't want to have to monitor themselves. They want people that know how to do it. They don't want to hire those people because then they can't fire them immediately. They have, they get on, it becomes more difficult to fire somebody. Here, you can get rid of a contractor on 1 day's notice. So they bring in contractors. They want nodes. Why do they want nodes? They want to track transactions. So it makes sense. And from the ERC20 for tokenized shares, you need settlement for shares. And right now there's no real way to do that globally. And everybody that's doing it is not really solving any problem. They're simply doing something for PR and they're doing something to get into the news, but they're not really solving any real world problems. That's why the CSD. Soon Moon, a lot was promised for July, not delivered. The Sandbox project create, but considering the speed of execution, isn't there a big threat that competition will catch up? Ideas and vision are important like yours, but CM won't have success without quicker execution. I agree and disagree with that. Tell me what was promised. Obviously, we were talking about some news that was promised, but news isn't like release of new products. I don't think we promised any new products in July. We didn't promise. We talked about probably having news towards the end of July on specific things. We've talked about all those things today, to be honest. We just haven't released the news publicly. And look, there's companies that have great success that are slow at executing. I can name a ton of them. You ready? Apple, Microsoft, IBM. Microsoft is actually famous for pushing shit out that doesn't work. But in Apple's on the other side, they take a long time to push things out because they expect it to live up to a certain caliber or whatever. But they still run the problems, right? Applegate, all this other nonsense that's happened over the years. So, it's different when you have a full glimpse into what's happening in a company. When have you seen a CEO of a major corporation do an AMA every Friday and tell you pretty much without fail everything that's happening within the company without some type of filter? I don't think that happens. So when you get full visibility, it makes you question things. When you get no visibility, then it's just speculation, right? We are moving pretty fast considering the size of the team we have and the resources we have to fuel that team. I think we're moving at an exceptional speed, to be honest, especially since probably toward February, March of this year and until now, we're moving quite quickly. And we'd love to move faster. But moving faster means we need to close one of those tickets. Once we close one of those tickets, it'll be able to allow us to expand a bit. We still have to be pretty cautious until we bring in the rest of that money because basically we need to make sure that we can continue to operate. And if we try to expand too quickly, spend all the money on marketing, et cetera, that can lead actually to more problems than it leads to solutions. Anybody else coming on here? Let's see. Any airdrops from XCM in the future will be possible? Well, airdrop that was promised from when the ETCF is launched. Outside of that, in the near future, don't think so. When do you expect to have MTF license? MTF license takes way longer than 2 to 3 months, Bjorn. The Sandbox license in a month and a half, maybe 2 months at the max. In terms of the actual license, let's say in Europe, that license process takes a minimum of 6 months. And that's once you apply. We haven't applied yet. So, would a huge company, like for an example, Facebook, buy CM and CM will value how much to sell? 1 billion? All speculative questions from you, my friend. I love it. Would a huge company like Facebook buy XCM? If Facebook comes through with their Libra and they don't feel like building their own exchange infrastructure, they may look to acquire a company. Would they acquire CoinMetro as we are today, or would they look to acquire someone with simply more clientele in the marketplace, like your Bitrexes, like your Hoibis? Probably more likely. In the future, that would definitely change. Will people come with buyout offers at some point? I guarantee you they will. Right now, the valuation is 50 million, not a billion. At some point, though, reaching that valuation, sure, that valuation is not that hard to reach with a fintech company. Basically, once you finish creating your product, you basically need to get a ton of clients, but you don't need to be profitable. You just need to show that you have clients and product. And then basically the thing is you raise money then on the premise, we need to find a way to monetize these clients to pay and be profitable. Just like Revolut, for example, unprofitable, now almost 6 million clients, still unprofitable, but raising a ton of money with a huge valuation. Milhouse Van Houten. First, let me answer the question by soon. The Sandbox was never planned for July. See, there you go. Introduction. But yes, sort of, I have to agree. Since I follow CM, heaps of things were announced, but officially announced in 1, 2, 3, or 4 weeks. However, often those announcements dates change. I expect that stuff in development often takes more time. Other people, companies, third parties are involved. Deadlines can change. Most recent example, the first IEO. I have no idea but you promised more details a few months ago. Now, last week, the community heard more details next week, but no additional details. For some people who are really involved for different reasons, it's tiresome. All right, so I'll explain about the IEO real quick. So obviously the IEO is with another company, right? And we need to make sure that that company is ready to announce before we announce it. I would have announced it, on the 31st or the 1st. But they have specific things they need to do before they want to announce. And they're still finishing a few things on their website here or there. So we're just giving them some time. But the announcement's coming. What do you think if it makes sense to step away from the typical expect in full 2 weeks to something more general? Friends, we have this plan. We will approach the development. Look, we try. You're right. You're right, and you're wrong, I guess, at the same time. I think that it's easy to say that, but then you know what the next question is right after you say that? When? And you go, in the future. Well, how soon in the future? So, you can either be very vague, and then people get maybe even more frustrated. Or look, we don't promise things. I'm not promising. Probably 1 to 2 weeks. That's when it looks like 3 weeks. Things do change. Sometimes, and most of the time, not most of the time, sometimes when that happens, it's not because of us. It's because we're waiting for something else, like you said. Sometimes it's just something we can't control. Or keep track of your announcements, come back to them much earlier, or without anyone asking why nothing happened yet. Well, I think lots of things are happening. Some things are happening that we didn't even announce, right? When you see updates to the website that maybe weren't announced, or updates to the Go platform, et cetera, that weren't announced, updates to the KYC that we didn't announce. So yeah, some things happen. We have a small dev team. If something happens and there's a big, something needs to be focused on because something breaks, or not that something, not like anything broken yet, but there's a bug, there's whatever, and attention needs to be diverted. Well, then that 1 to 2 weeks can become 3 or 4. I understand if you're the team excited and often it's justified. Okay, I get your point though, guys. I get your point. Look, I think the more vague we go, maybe the more frustrated people are. We try to pinpoint things. Sometimes we're wrong. Sometimes we're right. Obviously, people remember when you're wrong. They don't remember when you were right. Collectively, it's like being in a relationship, right? When you're wrong, trust me, you'll hear about it 5 years from now. When you're right, you're never going to hear about that. So that's just the way. That's the way people work. That's human nature, right? So we've been right a lot of times, and we've been wrong sometimes, right? So we'll probably be wrong again in the future. But I think it's better to try and give people an estimation of time rather than just saying, sometime in the future, this thing will happen, stay tuned. Because again, the next question somebody asks is when? And then, what do you say? Future. And they go, future Metro, or whatever, I don't know. And we start getting, pictures of me on rocket ships flying to the future. Hey, Kevin, when is the merger trade and margin plan for? I think Steven commented on that. And it was like sometime maybe September, October, according to the development cycle. Might be sooner though. Could we please have more than 50K XM exposure on margin, perhaps even bump in collateral allocation? The reason for that obviously ties into market orders, ties into people not understanding how a book works and then getting screwed on the book. We will raise that over time, but we need more data to be able to do it. That's the point. How do you expect to raise money for the IEOs? You have no marketing budget. Well, it's not just us doing the marketing. So, and there's other ways that we will attack marketing. PR is one. There's a few other things, but it's not just us. There's other companies obviously spending money on their own marketing. Are you talking about the IEO, or there will be more? Are we talking about one? No, there will be more. There's 3 or 4 companies in talks with us now. Yes, the IEOs have their own marketing budget. XCM, there's a tie-in to XCM that's going to come out. The more details on that will come out around the 15th when we do the full PR announcement about what our IEO style program is, what it's called, how it works. Thanks, Jeff Fuel. I think you missed my question earlier about will there be XCM burn events like Binance does? Well, XCM will be burned all the time once it's instituted because it'll be burned on every time we collect fees. So unless we're going to have an event every day, we're not going to do some. I mean, we do have built in as well once we're profitable some type of burn, but we have a burn all the time. So it's a much more comprehensive solution, and I don't think it requires much fanfare. What we will do is on the transparency page of the website, we will show how much XCM was burned, and we'll have a running tally. So maybe we can do events like once, 1 million XCM is burned, 2 million, 10 million, whatever, and have special events related to specific milestones. Okay, guys, we're over time. I got to get ready for Blocks Live TV today. Thank you, guys. As I say every Friday, have a good weekend. Oh, hold on, we got another one. Could we wait to a point that you stop burning this? Could we come to a point that you stop burning XCM because too few exist? Theoretically, I guess that's possible. In reality, probably not, because the amount of XCM burnt is a percentage of a fee, which is only a percentage of the overall transaction. And at some point, we would want to lower those fees. So the fee gets even lower. So it's probably something that wouldn't happen regardless of volumes, to be quite honest. The amount of volumes you would need, sustained volumes for quite some time for that to actually become an issue. Anyway, guys, have a great weekend. Don't look at prices. Spend the time with friends and family. Do something other than crypto, except for buying XCM, obviously. And see you guys on Telegram over the weekend. See you guys here next week. Thanks for coming. Thanks for all the questions. Appreciate everybody having fun with me here today. And talk to you guys soon. Cheers.